Welcome to the 1% Better Recruitment Podcast. I'm your host, Charles Kiriakou, and this is the podcast that aims to help people within the recruitment industry get 1% better after every single episode. We've had such a wide variety of different guests that come on the show that talk openly about their stories, about sharing value, tools, techniques, strategies, the good, the bad, and the ugly, all within the recruitment space. And every single episode, we like to have as much fun as possible with open conversation back and forth. It's not scripted, it's uncensored. And as I mentioned, I like to have fun doing this podcast because I know that if you're going to tune into this, you want to feel like you're part of a conversation whilst also leveling up your game within the recruitment space. So if you like this podcast, please do us all a favor. Comment, like, subscribe, follow on all the platforms. It really helps drive engagement for the show. And that's enough from me. Let's get into this week's episode, and I hope you enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 1% Better Recruitment Podcast with your host, Charles Kiriakou. Today, I'm joined by Jack Salmon. Jack is a performance coach, mindset coach, and does a lot of the extreme running. We just had a conversation before about the Thai boxing gloves in the background and said that one of the reasons why I stopped was because of running. And I was like, well, I used to run when I did Muay Thai, but I don't think I ever did ultra marathons, which is very, very different. So we're going to dive into quite a few of those different things. We've got some really interesting topics that I think loads of people are going to get some value from. But Jack, for people that may or may not know who you are, mate, give us a bit of an introduction.
So I'm a high performance coach, and I work with individuals that are lacking purpose, lacking structure, fulfillment, goals. And I kind of got into this just through my own, personal journey and story. The reason why I become a high performance coach is because I wanted to be someone that I never had, right? And I give you a little background and update on sort of how I got to this point. It's like all of my 20s was just complete chaos. It was just full of partying, drinking, drugs, like the majority of people. But for me, it was just like I was one of them people that couldn't control myself. So I just went completely off the rails. And at the start, when I was in younger 20s, I was enjoying it. But as the years goes on, you kind of get to 24, 25, 26. It comes a bit of a detriment. And I'm sort of like sitting up by myself for weekends, just drinking, doing drugs, basically no purpose, lost with no goals, and it's just started taking a hold of me. It got to a point where I just, I didn't want to live anymore, and I was just like, what's the point? And I realized that something had to change. If it didn't change, I knew it would have been my life that was going to go. So I then started to get into personal development. That for me come in a form of a book. I just started to read. I started to gain more understanding, gain knowledge, and then I started to feel different than I ever felt before. So I just went on that spiral of just self-improvement and progression. And it took me years to kind of get to a baseline standard and improve. And that was just because I was trying to figure things out myself. I had purpose, goals, mindset, habits. I had no mentors. I didn't know what a coach was at that time. A big part of my journey was, going sober and cutting down drinking drugs, which no one was doing at that time. So then what I realized, like I got myself into a position, but then what I started to put into a place was like just helping other individuals made me feel good. So then that's when I decided that I want to be a coach, because what took me, 5 years to figure out, it just didn't need to take that long. And I wanted to be that person for other individuals. And that's what I've been. It's gone through different stages. At the beginning, it was helping people stop going out at the weekend and things like that. But then as my journey and as I start to progress, as I start to become a business owner, as I start to become a dad, you're faced with all these new challenges and struggles. So every time I've changed and evolved, the kind of individual that I help, changes and evolves too. But really, mate, like it's just the big focus for me is just helping people create purpose, improve on their mindset, start achieving their goals, working on their personal development, and ultimately just getting dedicated to becoming the best version of them. Because I know by doing so, the rest of your life, flourishes. As a
Love
whole,
that, man. Love that. I'm so excited to get into this because everything you're talking about there is something that I've been trying to give to people for many, many years. And I'm sure when we dive into the first topic, which is going back into your story and really getting into what you were telling us about in your early 20s. But to pick up on that for a second before we do that, obviously, I've worked in the recruitment sector for 11 years. A lot of your clients work in the recruitment sector. It's one of those industries where I had a guest explain it like this. It's almost offensive how much money you can earn in recruitment. I've seen 19-year-olds earn 150 grand a year. What do you do when you're 19, when you don't really know what your purpose is yet? You don't really have much structure. You don't really have big goals yet, but you're earning 100 grand a year, 150 grand a year. The first thing people do is
we have lunch clubs, we have top like big biller clubs, etc. You go to the nicest restaurants, you start getting a flavor for the nicer things, and then you have a few drinks. Next thing you know, you're in the city of London, someone calls in a bag, and then one thing leads to another. And I've seen 19, 20-year-olds just completely change for the worse, mate. And you know, again, we'll dive into your story, but I'm always of that type of person that doesn't want to say to the youngsters, don't enjoy yourself. Just be fucking careful. Be very, very fucking careful, because I've seen the worst possible case scenario with that,
sure.
especially if we're talking about the packet, right? Taking cocaine. I've seen close family members go to prison, faces literally falling apart, personalities completely shifting. You know, there's the highs of it, and then there's the fucking real brutal lows. And I think sometimes when you're 19, 20 years old, if you've never really been around the worst possible case scenario, you're like, Jack, we're just having fun, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. And I think it's also who you idolize and what you follow, right? So a lot of these 19, 20-year-olds, if they're looking at the 26-year-olds or the 30-year-olds or the founder or the business owner that has built a successful business, become successful, but is still going out drinking, doing drugs, partying, sleeping with women, whatever you want to do, that's deemed and looked as a cool, and that's the way and the route to go. And I'm not saying that it's not. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone's got their own life, everyone's got their own devices, everyone's got their own thing that they find fun to do. But me personally, like, it's okay, and you should do it in you can do it if you want, but don't let it become a detriment to who you are. And it also depends what you're doing it for. Like, when I was in my early 20s, that was the most exciting thing to me. Going out, drinking, doing drugs, you know, chasing women, trying to be a lad. And that's what I thought was cool. And that's what gave me my ego, that gave me my boost. But as I've grown, as I've got older, I've realized that that doesn't bring long-term fulfillment and happiness. And it's the honest truth. So it's all kind of short-term pleasures to mask or make you feel a certain type of way that I believe and I know that you can get through other things in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And looking back, listen, it's not that I wish I didn't do it, because I had great stories and had fun, but it's like, did I need to do it to the extremes that I done it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I was a late bloomer. I didn't really start figuring my stuff out till 26, 27. And I had to get to rock bottom to change. You don't have to go that far with it. For one, you don't have to get to rock bottom to change and change your mindset and views. And some people also never change because they feel like that's the life that you live to be cool or be successful or whatever it takes. And you can be successful and build a business by doing all of that. I'm not saying you can't, but I also don't think it brings long-term fulfillment and joy.
No. It definitely doesn't, mate. And like I said, I've got close family members that are in their 50s now that still deal, get on it, all this type of stuff. And then you see them at family functions, and you just know that they're on it, and then they're really agitated and all the rest of it. You're like, why are we doing this? And it goes back to your point there about it's like a status thing. It's like this is the cool thing to do. This is what I want to be seen as. I always need to be seen driving a BMW, rocking Hugo Boss or whatever it is. And it's like it's for some people, like you said, it takes a long time for people to realize that actually all the noise outside is bullshit. It's what's important to you, and it goes on to the topic we'll speak about in a bit about purpose, right? It takes a lot of people a long time to find what their purpose is. And if your idea of fun and purpose is being up at 5 o'clock in the morning in some stranger's kitchen, like
the problem is that's what it is, and I don't think it is, but it's just like what you do. Like, the start of it's exciting, but no one really enjoys the end of it. You know what I mean? But you go out and do it again, and the reason why is because there's nothing else much to focus on, or people don't think there is, or they haven't got other things to focus on that will allow them to feel long-term fulfilled. You know, and it's not just that; it also depends on the cultures, environments you grew up in. Me, for example, that was all everyone ever done. So when I took a step back from it, it was like, what do I do with myself? What do I do with my life? And you end up so bored because you feel like there is nothing to do. You just go back into the cycle, you know?
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that, about kind of, because a lot of people that go into that, we'll call it the party sort of mindset or whatever you want to call it, where people are constantly going to raves, they're going to festivals, going clubbing or whatever it is, or just even if it is just going to the pub and going back to somebody's house. And my wife, her friends, she's got a lot of friends that have got really, really bad cocaine addictions. Like, it's really, really, really bad. And it kind of goes back to what you was just saying there. Their whole family, they're just, working class, not really ambitious. And it's like they almost live for the weekend. And then the weekend, to make it even more fun after a few beers, is we do X, Y, and Z type thing. If you don't mind, obviously you don't have to, but it'd be interesting to kind of go back a little bit before, kind of what maybe triggered you to then go down that road. And then maybe by the time you kind of explained that, you mentioned about hitting rock bottom. I've opened up a lot about my story about doing that myself, but it'd be interesting to go almost from like childhood to where you hit rock bottom, and then we can kind of tackle the mindset that you have now.
Yeah, for sure. So like, listen, from leaving school, I didn't really have much to do with my time. I fell into jobs that I didn't enjoy doing, and then you start drinking, you start doing drugs, and that's the most exciting thing in your life. That's all I lived for, and that's all I really knew. So from that till 26 was all I ever done, and I'll be honest with you, that's what I felt I was quite good at: going out, partying, being a lad, and that was the identity that I built. So even letting go of that was a big challenge for me, because I thought, what are people going to say? I'm the sort of the person that people go to when they want to go out. I'm the guy that goes out, fights, that shows off, that is the lad that's driving the nice car or the designer stuff. Like, all for show, it's all facade. You know what I mean? And that's the honest truth. But then, obviously, I said it got a detriment to myself. And I was sitting up by myself if the party stopped at 5 a.m, I'd still be going till the following evening. So if it stops at Saturday morning, 5 o'clock, I lived by myself. So I'll just go by myself, carry on going till Sunday evening. So like over fucking, 24 hours, 48 hours partying, and the majority of that on myself. And then, as I said, mate, it just got one day, and I was just like, I said to myself that I'd stop this shit over and over again. And I never, ever stopped. I said I would do something, and I never done anything different. It was just the same, I'm going to change. You feel better after a few days, and you go back into the thing. It's because I didn't have anything else to focus on. So that was my thing that I dived straight back into. And then I was just sitting there one day after a long night, and I was like, this has felt like the time I've just had enough, and I feel like I just don't want to do this no more. And I didn't find no way out. So I contemplated not taking my own life and stuff. But then I realized deep down, I'm going to let a lot of people down by doing that. And most importantly, let myself down. So I realized if I don't change now, something has to fucking change. Off the back of that, as I said, I started to look at ways to change, taking action on to change, which is still a struggle for me, because I still never read a book in my life. There was no guidance for me. I had no one to talk to. So I just found enjoyment in reading. And that's when I just got hooked on personal development and dived deep into my personal development. And then it just made me feel different. Like, I started getting up early. I started to train more. I started to take a step back from the drink and drugs. I started to get a clear head. And then I started to feel better about myself. And I think that's what I was craving. And that feeling then led me on to the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And even while I was progressing, by the way, like, I was still slipping back into old ways. It weren't a linear path. Like, I'd got stay in for 2 weeks rather than one. Then I'd go back to 1 week. Then it would be like 3 weeks, then 4 weeks, then back to one. So it was still like a cycle.
Yeah.
Until I actually, fully committed to just stopping drinking and drugs, which was about 4 years ago. I went off on a bender for a few days. And at this time, I felt like I was really progressing. Like, I got into personal training and I was helping people. But then I went on a bender for a few days and realized, like, there's no way I'm going to be anything in life if I keep doing this. And then from that moment on, I just stopped drinking and doing drugs. It was just that. And I've not gone back since. I'm glad I ain't.
Yeah, mate, that's it's an incredible story, and you hear it quite often with people that are here to tell the tale when they've gone through that extreme party life, right? And then there's like a catalyst where, and largely, I think you must know Steve-O from Jackass. You know his story about I remember listening to him. I think it was either his podcast or Joe Rogan, and he was talking about he bought this apartment block by himself, or this apartment, sorry, and he converted it into like a what's it called? Where the skaters go, skate park. Basically, converted his whole apartment into a skate park, and the neighbors were all complaining, all the rest of it. And he told a story about how he'd done so much ketamine, he thought the chair was on fire and he was spinning, and he could see hell beneath him. And it was like kind of an awakening moment of like, "Whoa, this is really cool. Wait a minute, like I'm so far detached from reality. Like, I just can't do this." And now he has completely stopped everything, where to the point where he won't even do ayahuasca because he just can't touch any form of psychoactive substance or anything like that. And it's normally those people that have been through those scenarios where they're so like, they've gone to the absolute extreme, and it's like, I just can't, because that is the end of the road. If I go any more extreme, either I'm taking my own life or I'm ODing or something like that. So
Yeah,
I
I agree
fucking
with that.
commend you, mate. It's
And I am that way. I'm an all-in type of person, and like that, I've been all in on that way. And if I can go all in that way, that's what's got me so all in on my own personal development and growth.
yes.
But like taking it back to the drinking and doing drugs, it's like everyone's got their own relationship with it. So mine was not a great one. You know what I mean? Even when I was just drinking before drugs, it was like I was still fighting, just causing trouble all the time. So me and
Yeah.
drink and drugs never mixed well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas some people can go out, have a few beers with their family, have a few beers with their missus, wake up, feel fine, go to work. Or some people can still go a little bit, off the rails, but then still crack on and get on with it. And like, if that's what you enjoy to do, then fair play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not a you should not be doing it kind of person. I'm just like, do what works for you and works for your life.
Yes.
It didn't work out in my life, and I'm glad it didn't, because I don't see no benefit in it for myself personally. But
Yeah.
some people do enjoy it. So if you have got a good relationship with it, that's fine.
Just a quick one from me, guys. I hope you're enjoying this week's episode. But as you probably know, the way that I fund this podcast is through my coaching business. So just a little bit of information around that, because you or someone that you might know might find some value in this. But I work with recruitment agencies, recruitment businesses within a range of 1 to 100 heads that are looking to scale, grow, and ultimately want to upskill both founder level, recruiter level, and everything in between. And I offer a wide variety of different services, from one-to-one coaching, group coaching, training academies, business development training, creating company handbooks, and I'm looking to do a lot more webinars, and I'm looking to add as much value as I possibly can. But in order for me to keep doing this podcast, I need to make a living, I need to pay my mortgage, and I can only do that through my coaching business. Really difficult doing it by yourself, but I love doing it, and I add a lot of value to recruiters and recruitment businesses. So if that sounds like something that you'd potentially be interested in, if you're someone that's passionate about personal and professional development, my details are below with this podcast. That's enough from me. Let's get into the rest of this week's episode.
That's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I've often toyed with the just completely just sacking off booze, because I'm only 31. Right? I'm not even old, but my hangovers are horrific. Like, I think it was 2 weeks ago, Rosie's mate, my wife, she had her 30th birthday, and I had three and a half pints of lager. Woke up the next morning like, oh, that not even bad. Didn't touch any drugs, nothing like that. Just 3 pints, felt awful. And I've always contemplated it. But then my missus has always said, like, you're the type of person that can go out, have 3 or 4 pints and go. You're the type of person that if there is drugs on the table and you do that, you will not bother doing it again for months and months and months. Like, you don't have that. Like, I do have an addictive personality in some aspects. Like, I have my addictions, and I think it was one of the first ever episodes I recorded. It's all about choosing your addictions, because I think there are, like, naturally as humans, we will get addicted to things we like. There's certain things that give us the dopamine. Like we spoke about the Thai boxing. I haven't been to the Thai boxing class for probably about a year. I'm going to go back on Saturday. So I've got addicted to lifting kettlebells, dumbbells, barbells. I've got addicted to walking the dog. There's little things like that I do, like the PlayStation games behind me. That's a way of me, like, when I do that, that's like my escape. That's like my drugs type of thing. That's my treat at the end of the day. If I lock in and I play FIFA or Call of Duty or whatever, the whole world disappears. And in the chaos of my ADHD mind, where it's just fucking ideas, business ideas, what about this person? What about that? What about money? You play a video game and it's boom, it's gone, and there's no hangover with it. That's why for me, it's like I choose that over going to the pub. Or I've spoken about this on the podcast. I was a massive stoner pretty much for my entire 20s, throughout my entire recruitment career, smoking 2-3 joints a night to mask the ADHD and the chaos that was going on in my mind. But then after a while, it gets to a point, not as extreme as what you're saying about with the other stuff, but you're waking up in the morning and you're going, oh my God, I can't even remember what fucking day it is. And I'm like, this is like, in this type of job as well, like, you're coming in and you're dialing out someone to call and you're forgetting who you've dialed out because you're smoking too much. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it all just comes down to, does it, who do you want to be? Where do you want to go? And does it affect that person? Does that make sense? If you have got big goals, dreams, and aspirations, and you can drink, do drugs, and achieve all of these things, and you're happy with that, then you crack on. If you've got big goals, dreams, and aspirations, and this thing is getting in the way of that, or even getting in the way of how you feel, your fulfillment, it's ruining any type of your life, then consider is this worth being in my life? And for me, it was just a negative effect on everything in my life. Yeah. So even with that, for, you know, just drinking drugs aside, 2 months ago, I just stopped eating sugar and like processed foods, because what I realized is it was getting in the way of my goals that I was trying to achieve. Or there'll be sometimes I might be stressed or something, or I'd celebrate and I'm not drinking and doing drugs, so I'll have a fucking ice cream, 3 ice creams, this, and go extreme on that. And it'd make me feel shit. So I just said, you know what? I'm not doing it no more. And that's it. And it's just like, I look at anything like that. If there's anything or anyone in my life that's making me feel down, is getting in the way of my goals, my dreams, my aspirations, my values, it goes. And I've had to do that with friends. I've had to do that with other people that I know, certain environments. It was getting in the way of where I wanted to go. It was pulling me down. It was negative to be in them situations. So I remove it from my life.
Yeah.
And that's anything that doesn't make me feel good or gets in the way of the person I want to be or my goals. It just, I cut down or eventually remove from my life.
Yeah. What was the book then? Because you mentioned when we did the intro.
Miracle Morning. So, Miracle Mornings. Yeah, so it was all about waking up before 8 o'clock and doing, meditation, affirmations, training, journaling. And like, listen, and I've told this many times, like, one, I'd never read a book up until this point in my life. So I had a resistance to say, like, why you can't read? Why are you even going to try read? And it was like such a hard thing for me to do, to read the book, but I was desperate to give it a go. Then all of the things come up: journaling, meditation, gratitude. My ego was like, this is for hippies. Like, you don't do this shit. Do you know what I mean? This is weird stuff. But I see all like people's results and testimonials and the guy talking about it, and I was like, you have to be open-minded, because if it's working for these, then surely something's got to give for you. Yeah. And through the application of that book, it got me onto the next book, the next thing, the next thing. Then my mindset started to change. Then my perception started to change about the world and what was possible, and about myself. My beliefs started to build even more, because I was, one, sticking to my word, and two, I just started to feel like I could actually maybe achieve more than I'm doing. And that's just what got me onto that sort of progression of like, let's do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. But the biggest thing I ever done was read the book. That was my biggest goal. My goals back then was just like, read this book and staying at the weekend. That was my biggest achievement.
I love that. That sounds like an interesting book. I've always realized that for me, like, I wanted to try the 5 a.m. club back in the day, but I read something a couple of years back about people with ADHD. They almost have like a delayed circadian rhythm, I think it is, so that the normal, so if you wake up, look at the sunlight, etc., most people, it will be in between the hours of like 7 and 9 a.m. or whatever, whereas my brain is delayed. Whereas I naturally, if I were to just set no alarms and just go by when I feel like waking up and when I feel like going to sleep, it's typically I could wake up at 9:30, 10 a.m. and be like, oh, brilliant. And then naturally I start to feel tired. Even if I turn screens off, read a book, work out, start to feel tired at about midnight. Do you know what I mean? So now, like, trying to work in a conventional setting, my whole adult life of trying to wake up at 6:30 to get the 7:30 train and stuff was always quite savage. And I tried doing the gym workouts in the morning. This is something I want to talk to you about with our topic around mindset. I've tried to do morning workouts. I had a PT for a little while, and he said to me, like, look, if you're not strong in the mornings, because my goals have recently been more power and strength, because I used to be a really, really skinny kid, then just do it when you feel most powerful, which is lunchtime. Like, lunchtime for me, if I have a big hearty breakfast around lunch, that is when I feel the most powerful, the most strong, and the most athletic. And in the evenings, that's when I used to do my Thai boxing, because it's just a stress reliever. I'm not lifting heavy weights, but I'm just pushing myself, grinding through, and then that's all right. But what about people listening to this then, Jack? Like, people that want to start their personal development journey. You talked there about like the morning routine and stuff. I still struggle with it these days, and I'm sure there's tons of people that struggle with it. What advice do you have for people to get better with their morning routine?
It depends what you want to do and what you're trying to set yourself up for. Like, a morning routine is what changed my life, and it's something that I implement even to this day. Before, it was a belief that I held, was I was not a morning person. Yeah, and I had to force myself to be one, because I'd say that, but when I grew up, I know I was probably sitting up all night playing video games, but I was the guy that would lay until 12, 1 in the afternoon, but probably because I've been up all night. Yeah, this is what I mean. So, and then even when I, was working and stuff, it was still, I was like the 5 minutes to get out the door, wake up 8 o'clock, rush out the door and go, right? So I kind of forced myself to be a morning person, right? But through them practices, it enabled me to build discipline. One of the biggest ones was just wake it. And it doesn't really matter what time you get up, if I'm honest with you. The reason I like to get up so early is because I feel like I'm more effective with the time that I spend in the morning time, right? But for me, it was all about just not snoozing the alarm. That was the first thing, because if I keep my word, that's going to enable me to, one, believe in myself, build confidence, build discipline, build consistency, and some form of structure too. So by me saying I'm getting up at, back then was 5 o'clock, and doing it, I felt like I could trust myself, because it's a hard thing to do, wake up and do that. When I first started doing the morning routine, I probably went a bit OTT. It was like, get up at 5 o'clock, run around the block, have a cold shower, read journal, meditation. It was an hour and a half long, right?
Yeah.
As time goes on, you realize I don't need to be doing every single one of these things. So I just kind of changed it and shifted it around just to do some simple practices that work for me. But even to this day, I have a morning routine. It's not, fucking
What does that look
a
like
list
now
of
then?
things to do. I'm up at 4:30. That's like non-negotiable for me every single day. I believe just getting up at the same time every single day. The other side of that, I do aim to get to bed for 8:30, 9 o'clock. So that is still technically 8 hours. Right. So
Yeah.
people see my 4:30, it's a crazy thing, but I don't sit up till 11 or 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to get up at 4:30, or it will catch me up down the line. I'll get up, I'll do some sort of praying, I'll do gratitude for 5-10 minutes, and then I'll jump straight into studying for an hour. So whatever I'm studying at that time, it was NLP is NLP at the moment. So that's what I'll do for an hour. Then I'll ask myself some prompting questions in my journal. Then I'll go to the gym for an hour, come back, spend a bit of time with my daughter, and then start work. So the main things for me there is just like gratitude, asking empowering questions, making sure that my day's structured and planned, which I do the previous night before, train, exercise, study, and then head into my day. And why I do that, because one, it gives me just confidence when I wake up. I feel disciplined when I'm sticking to that structured routine. But also, most importantly, I'm framing my mind intentionally. So I'm focusing on what I'm gratitude. I'm focusing on what I'm proud of. I'm focusing on what I've got to do that today, how I want to feel. I'm directing my mind for how I want to feel and what I want to focus on, rather than just subconsciously rolling out of bed and just letting the day take hold of me.
Yeah, I like that, because I feel like sometimes I kind of almost fall into that mindset of letting the day just take place. And I normally plan my day through my Google Calendar. I've got a whiteboard behind me with loads of stuff on there with the goals for the week and stuff. But there are some days where, you know what it's like when the grind is just it's been going on, and you just feel like the cogs are just fucking red hot from just grinding so hard. And then there are just like, this whole week for me has just been a bit like, oh my God, like it's just been a lot. Whereas the last 3-4 weeks, I've been grinding so hard. And last year, I think there was like 4 times where I've sat down with people on the podcast, like burnout specialists, coaches, and then they're talking through like the signs of burnout and going like, you've passed that, like you've passed burnout. And I think this week is when I realized it. And I said to my wife, because I've worked the entire bank holiday weekend, like literally 9 to 5 in my office the whole day, because I'm starting an academy next week. And I was like, I have to get it all sorted before, and I'm going to get paid a big chunk of money. But then I just didn't enjoy my weekend really. And even when I had friends round on the Monday, I'm making the barbecue, I'm sorting everything out. I'm just constantly like fucking the whole time. And it's like, yeah, this week I found myself where it's like the day has kind of managed me instead of me managing my day. So yeah, that I want to ask you about that. And then I wanted to ask you a little bit about the prompting questions you ask yourself in your journal. I think I'd be interested to know about that.
Yeah, for a few of them, in terms of the questions themselves, always gratitude. I'm always focusing on gratitude every single day. As soon as I wake up, gratitude, writing them in my diaries. But what people get mixed up about gratitude, and the same for anything that they say to themselves, is it's not a task that you write down and just say, I'm thankful for this. Yeah, if you give me something, for example, a present, and I just said, oh, thank you. Does it sound sincere? No. If I say I'm really appreciative of that, thank you. Yeah. There's emotion behind it, right? Yeah. And that's the only way that you're going to be able to change your brain structure, by actually writing or saying things with emotion. Yeah, something called neuroplasticity is the way that your brain changes shapes and rewires, right? And the way that you do that is by repetition, but also repetition with emotion. And the more that you practice and focus on gratitude, number one, with emotion, the second question I ask is, what am I proud of? Why I do that? Because been a long time in my life where I'm just succeeding and moving on to the next thing, succeeded, moving on to the next thing, succeeded, moving on to the next thing, or not recognizing my own success, then feeling like I have low confidence, then like feeling like I have imposter syndrome because I'm not recognizing myself.
Yeah.
I'm not giving myself praise. I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm never looking at myself and saying, you've done a good job today. Or, you've done a good job there, or well done for that. So that's something that I reaffirm every single day. What am I grateful for? What am I proud of? With emotion. And as I was taking it back to the structure, right? If you do this frequent enough, you don't just start to feel gratitude when you're saying it or writing it. You start to go through your day finding and seeking experiences to be grateful for. You become more of a grateful person. You start to feel more proud of yourself every single day. If every day you're an angry person and your brain structure is of someone that's angry, how easy is it for you to get pissed off and frustrated, and you start looking at everything to just to be angry and frustrated around. So on the flip side of it, the more you practice the gratitude or what you're proud of, you change your brain structure. You can easily tap into these things and start creating the filters that you want for your life, right? So gratitude, what am I proud of? In the morning, always, what's 3 things I must execute on today? And then of an evening time, it comes back to the gratitude again. It comes down to the recognition of what wins did I get today? What lessons did I learn today? And then most importantly, how can I improve tomorrow?
Yeah.
And they're just prompting questions that I do morning and evening, but your life and the quality of your life will come down to the quality of questions you ask yourself. So I am consistently asking myself better questions every single day.
Mate, I'm just
without
smiling.
Without
Sorry
you
to
realizing,
interrupt.
or anyone, go on, sorry. No, go
I
on.
was just going to say, the only reason why I'm smiling so much is that I've just, in all of my training, it all says a recruiter is a reflection of the questions they ask, and your life is only as good as the questions you ask. So when you said 100%. That, my face went smile to like ear to ear, just like you're fucking saying the same shit as me, man.
But this is what people don't understand, right? Everything they do is ask himself a question. What should I have to eat next? What time do I need to go to bed? What needs to be done? Like everything we're doing subconsciously or consciously is a question that you're asking yourself. But a lot of people are just asking themselves unconscious negative questions. And a lot of them are very self-pitying. Why do I feel this way? Why am I this person? Why is life happening to me like this? And I used to do that, and it just kept me encaged in a little trap instead of asking why. Because when you ask yourself why, it's just like you're seeking justification for why you feel a certain way. So all you do is dive deeper into the problem. But if you can start asking yourself how can I get better? What needs to be done to improve? How can my best self handle this? How do I want to feel? Rather than why do I feel like this? How do I want to feel? And then going out and then coming back on that question with, I want to feel like this, I'm going to feel like this, right? How can I improve? This is what I need to do to improve. You're starting to come up with solutions to the problems that you've got rather than enclosing yourself in the problem. And that's been really powerful for me because I was, always asking myself disempowering questions, and there's no reason that I stayed in such a disempowered state. And my state's going to determine my behavior. My behavior is going to turn the results that I get. So if I ask myself better quality questions, I'm going to start producing better results.
Love it, mate. Yeah, honestly, everything you're saying there is I've been on this journey myself, especially when doing NLP. One of the questions I remember my NLP coach saying to me is the action I'm taking now helping or hindering future me? Is future me going to be thankful for what I believe and do right now? And it was like programming yourself to believe that. And I went through that journey from the age of 23 and then got my master prac when I was like 27 or something like that. But throughout that entire time and doing my own research and practicing these types of things and learning to, like what you said, see the and I know some people say it's quite played out and cliche, but it's not. But like being able to train yourself to see the positive in things. And I think that it sounds like from what you've been through, and my sort of adolescent years, really, my childhood wasn't bad. My adolescent years were pretty fucked up. But going through those periods of, like you said, hitting rock bottom, I think sometimes that's like a pivotal moment for you to then go, I just can't. I'm never going to fucking ever have that feel. I don't ever want to have that feeling ever again. You're going to have those feelings of feeling low and down, and life is like that, right? Life is never linear, like what you were saying earlier about with your journey. But just, I think, mate, some people don't realize that it's almost it's hard, but it's simple. that you can train your and rewire your brain. It's just the repetition. And I don't think like a lot of people want to put the work in and want to continue with the consistency. Like if it means just, for example, not snoozing your alarm in the morning or going for a walk and picking 3 things that you found beautiful today. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I used to take my missus for runs during COVID because that's all we could do. And she'd struggle. She hated it. And I just said to her, like, let's stop for a breath and go and smell the lavender bush and tell me how amazing that smells. And she's like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, I'm almost distracting myself from the pain and trying to train myself to think, what is nice in this situation? What are some positives? I was like, look, there's no fucking clouds in the sky. How amazing is that? She sat there going, I'm dying. I was like, look, you can still breathe. You're fine. We're taking a rest. It's okay. But that's because I was so many years ahead of her with the personal development and understanding how to rewire your beliefs and understanding that your beliefs contribute towards your behaviors and your habits and everything like that. But yeah, man, like I get fucking fired up talking about this shit. I'm actually glad to have someone else on that's kind of on a similar pain there. But yeah, what I think what we talked about there about the mindset part, a lot of people that listen to this podcast, they're both sort of founder level, like manager, director level, or like recruiter level, right? From both perspectives, maybe some people that are listening to this maybe haven't set or started their real personal development journey. Maybe some people listening to this have read the odd book, listened to the odd podcast, haven't really developed a practice or anything like that. And they're kind of wondering, right, I don't think I'm actually really the best version of myself or getting towards the best version of myself, but I'm a little bit baffed at to what steps to take. You've talked a lot about the morning routine, your the times that you wake up, etc. What other things in terms of the mindset? And I think this goes into what you wanted to talk about structure as well. I think they both kind of go in hand in hand. But if those people were listening that are like, what do I do to really start this journey and start becoming the best version of myself? What would be like the plan or the structure in that respect?
I always take it back to purpose. Yeah. And a lot of people think that they find purpose or they're just purpose is passion. Example, a footballer, the people think this is maybe a purpose. And some people maybe find their purpose when they're younger. I want to do this for the rest of my life and that's it. But I didn't have that, right? I had to create purpose. And what I'm going to explain now is what helped transform my life. And every single person that I work with, this is the foundational thing that we go through. I help individuals create purpose and I do it by asking 4 questions. Number 1 is understanding who you want to be. Yeah, gaining crystal clear clarity about who you want to be in life. Not just now, and if you can only see in front of you, that's okay. But in a year's time, 2 years' time, 3 years' time. So what kind of person do you want to be? What traits do you want? Maybe you want to be disciplined. You want to be consistent. You want to be persistent. You want to be courageous. You know, what habits do you want to develop? Maybe you want to be running, training, reading, all of that kind of stuff, right? How do you want to view yourself? How do you want to look? How do you want to feel? I want to be fit. I want to be healthy. I want to be a runner. I want to be a CEO. Like, it's really getting an understanding and description of who you want to be, number 1. And I believe that everyone deep down, they know they want to be more, but they just don't articulate it. They don't pull it out. So we understand that first, number 1. Number 2, what goals do you want to achieve? Because if you can understand the type of person you want to be, what goals does that person achieve? If I want to be fit, healthy, and disciplined, what does that look like in terms of me actually setting a goal? I want to lose weight. I want to run a half marathon, maybe in a year's time. Next year could be an ultra marathon. The following year, a marathon, then an ultra marathon. If I want to be, great at sales, do I need to take a course? Do I need to hit a billings target? Do I want to be a CEO? What business do I want to build? How many people next year? How about the next year? So you start really building a vision around who you want to be, what goals you want to achieve, then tying in what life that you want to live. So what kind of lifestyle do I want to live? Well, I want fresh weekends. I want to travel the world. I want freedom. I want luxury. I want to live in, the country. I want to live in Dubai. So then you start visualizing the kind of lifestyle that you want to live. That's when it gets exciting. Yeah. And then the foundation of all of that is, why do I want to be this person? Why do I want to achieve these goals? And why do I want to create that lifestyle? And that's fundamental, because that's what's going to give you the motivation, the discipline to get your ass out of bed every morning and fucking go be the person you want to be, achieve the goals you want to achieve, and create the life that you want. And I break it down into a format, and then I create a statement that I read to myself every morning and evening, basically describing who I want to be, where I want to go, the goals, the life, and why I'm showing up every single day. And that's purpose right there. And in a year's time, 3 years' time, 5 years' time, you've got a clear understanding of the best version of you, the goals you achieve, the lifestyle you create, and why. And just having that in place every single day gives you a reason to get up and fucking go attack the day.
I hope you're enjoying the episode so far, guys. If you like short form content and want to see clips of prior episodes that are about to launch, or episodes that have just recently launched, you can see so many clips on my TikTok. It will be coming up on the screen right now. It's just charles.kiriakou on TikTok, and I upload 30 to 90 second clips at least 5 times a week. So if you see a clip on there and you go, actually, do you know what, that sounds like a wicked episode, you can just simply go on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube to see that episode and then watch the full episode. But yeah, I'm trying to upload a lot more on TikTok, so if you could give me a little follow over there and just check out the clips and give me some feedback, that'd be hugely appreciated. And just one more thing as well, if you're getting this far into the episode and you haven't liked or you haven't followed or subscribed or anything like that, you're going to miss out on so many good episodes. We have so many good guests that have already come on, that are coming on, so please make sure you're following, subscribed, etc. Oh, and finally, I have a newsletter that it comes out every single month so that you don't miss any of the episodes. So follow on all those areas, and yeah, let's get into the rest of the episode.
The day, right? But then most importantly, once you have all of that, now it's time to get them goals, break them down. This is but the next step I kind of take my clients is, right, in a year's time, you said you want to build the business to X amount, you want to lose this weight, you want to run a half marathon, and you want to complete this course. Okay, perfect. Now we actually put a systematic approach in place that enables them to break these goals down, to block the time to do the actions, to review it, to put deadlines on it, to work essentially towards it. So now they're waking up every single day. They've not just got this big purpose in place, but we've got an action plan that's taken us closer to where we want to go, but also makes us feel like we're living in alignment with that purpose every single day. Does that make sense? And by doing so, this is when they're enabled to build a structure that allows them to hit the professional goal, the personal goal, and the personal development all in one. Like I have a goal for my relationships, I have a goal for my study, I have a goal for my training, I have a goal for my business, and I'm able to execute on all of these things every single week. And I define that as balance. They don't all get 10 hours a day, but they all get hit, they all get met.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of people go wrong. They're just they wing life. They get lost, they get confused. And that's when they go off track. And I'll be honest, mate, taking it back to that rock bottom part, I hit rock bottom over and over and over again. Nothing changed. Even, wanting to take my own life, it still didn't make me go completely sober. But as I started to make progression towards my purpose, who I wanted to be, these goals, the life, I realized, am I going to be able to execute on this if I keep drinking and doing drugs? And the answer was no. So from that day on, I woke up and I said, I'm not doing it no more. And I've not gone back since, because I want to live in alignment with my purpose. I want to achieve great things. I want to be a great human being. I want to make an impact in the world. And my why is so strong that it outweighs
the
anything else.
Essentially.
The temptations. It just doesn't even come into my mind. Who I want to be, where I want to go, the life I want to create is more challenging, more fun, more rewarding, more exciting than drink or drugs will ever be.
Yeah.
And at the start, it's hard because it doesn't seem that way, and you've got no evidence to even believe that you're capable of doing this stuff. But as you be courageous a few times, you start to build evidence, then you realize, shit, this is actually possible. Because I've read so many stories of people that have come to, the bottom, that have achieved phenomenal things. And if they can do that, I can do that, and so can anyone else.
Yeah.
You just got to get committed.
Yeah, 100%, man. One question I wanted to ask, though, was how many people, if any, have you worked with that either haven't really been able to initially describe and articulate what their purpose is? Because I'm thinking a lot about, especially the younger recruiters that I've worked with, the 19, 20-year-olds, that if you were to sit there and really ask what their why is, and they go, well, live at home with mum, kind of want to move out, but I've got it really cushy. And you're like
no,
trying to dig into people's why. Like, have you had many clients where you go down and try and dig into purpose?
Yeah, we get emotional on that. So I believe that it comes from two places. The why comes from when it comes to articulating who they want to be. Everyone knows. When I first started out, who do I want to be? I want to be someone that doesn't go out on the weekend. I want to be someone that gets up early. I want to be someone that is in shape. I want to be someone that reads. That's all I had. Okay, what goals do you want to achieve then? You want to read one book a month? you want to stay in at the weekend, and you want to achieve, at that time, it was the Muay Thai grade. They're my goals. What life do you want to create? I just want to stay fresh on the weekend and treat myself. That was the life I wanted to live. Why do you want to do this? Because I was sick and tired of being who I was, and I was at rock bottom. That was my purpose.
Yeah.
And just by that small purpose, I was able to expand it as time went on. So a couple of things. I know by sitting down with anyone, they could tell me who they would love to be in a year's time. Whether that's someone that's in shape, whether that's someone that's great at sales, and the goals would be to earn more money. That's their purpose for now. Everyone's got a different reason and different purpose. And individuals at the beginning, they all want to earn shitloads of money because they believe that that's going to make them happy and fulfilled. And I don't take that away from them, because everyone's got to learn that eventually that won't make you happy and fulfilled.
Yeah.
But for now, if that's what gets you disciplined, focused, consistent, and committed, that's your why, that's your reason, that's your purpose. Yeah? But taking it back to uncovering the why, it's got to be emotionally invested. And it comes from two places for me, pain and pleasure. Pain was like, what pain are you in right now that you don't want to feel? Mine was, I hated who I was. I was crying myself to sleep and I didn't want to live. That was enough to say, I don't want to feel this way. I'm going to fucking change. You could also think of pain, people that put you down, people that doubted you, people that said you're not good enough. You can use that as leverage to push forward. Yeah. And then on the other side of it is pleasure. What do you get excited about? What do you enjoy doing? So as my pain started to disappear and I've come away from that pain, I needed a new why. And the why was, I like contributing and helping people. That gives me energy. That excites me. So that's one of my whys now. It's like helping people gets me out of bed every single morning. So you can think of it on a deep emotional level like pain, or you could just think about what motivates you and excite you. And their why could be, I just get excited and I crave significance. When I see my name on the top of that leaderboard, it gets me fucking excited. And I want to earn more money because I want to set my family up, or I just want to drive a nice car and things like that. And if that gets them motivated, that's up. That's them. That's them. But I just like to uncover it because I've asked people in the past, what do you want to lose weight for? I just want to feel better. No, you don't. Why do you want to lose weight? Because I feel uncomfortable with my top. Why do you want to feel, honestly, why do you want to, do you know what? I'm super embarrassed. I feel like a fat shit when I grew up. You know, I was bullied for the way that I looked, or, you know, I'm not going to find the woman I'm meant to be. There we go.
Yeah, it's the 5 whys, isn't it?
Keep asking yourself the same question. You're going to get the answer that you want. But everyone's going to have a different why and a different reason to show up in different areas of their life. And if you can uncover that for each and every goal, it's going to hold you more accountable than you've ever been accountable before. Yeah,
it's interesting you bring that up, because on the weekend I just completed the objection handling training. I've rebranded that module. I've rebranded it countless amount of times, but I've added a couple of different things within there. I heard people talk about the feel, felt, found model, which is a really good one. And then obviously the mirroring and labeling from Chris Voss's Never Split the Difference. But I added on there. So I always joke around with people. Charles has 5 magic questions. And the 5 magic questions are, what else, which is like the first ever coaching question you'll ever ask. Why is that? Why else? And who else? If you ask those 4 questions in a sales, recruitment, and even in a coaching scenario in some aspects, fantastic. But right next to that on that slide, it has why arrow 5 times. And I try and explain to people that pretty much exactly what you've explained, but in like a recruitment context, if a hiring manager turns around and says, do you know what, Jack, we're quite happy with our suppliers. Why? Because they provide good people. Why? And you keep asking why and why and why. Mainly if you're like qualifying a candidate. Like I used to have candidates all the time say to me that they were looking for progression. Why? And then it gets when you get really down to it, it's just because it's a significance thing. It's because they want to go on LinkedIn and say that they've been promoted to a regional manager or whatever it is. So asking that yourself, like going back to what you've been talking about setting your goals, like the 5 different areas of your life, and asking yourself the why question so many times is so fucking powerful, man. So powerful. And you reminded me, my first ever PT did the exact same thing. When I said to him, wanted to put why I wanted to put weight on, and it boiled down to the fact that I was always one of the smallest kids in school. Whenever I got into martial arts, people used to pick me up with one hand and throw me about, and I was like, I'm just tired of it, man. I'm going to go and get married in Cyprus. Am I going to be able to lift my wife up like that in front of my entire family and her family? Imagine how embarrassing that would be if I couldn't lift up my wife. Do you know what I mean? I was like, no. And that's when he had that little moment where he clicked his fingers, looked at me and went, that's it. That's it. So he designed a whole training plan to help bulk up a little bit, not massive amounts, just get mainly for me, it was to be strong. Didn't want to be some big juice head. I wanted to be quite inconspicuous. If someone looking at me and going, oh, fucking hell, he can lift that. Jesus Christ. And then just be strong and confident in who I am. I've got the technique. I just want to be fucking strong and confident. And that's kind of where that purpose and stuff comes from. So I think,
and taking it back, if you don't mind me asking, is like, don't mind me saying, is that even like when I asked that question, who do you want to be? It's like a lot of people deep down have kind of got a sort of secret that they keep to themselves. And I've uncovered this so many times on coaching sessions, like with recruiters that are super successful, or recruitment business owners that are super successful. Yeah. They don't feel fulfilled and they don't feel happy and joyous in their job. They've earned all of the money. They've got all of the accolades, and they're kind of like, I don't know, man. I feel fulfilled. And I was like, what would you love to fucking do? Like, I'm just talking about love to do.
Yeah.
I'd love to start a clothing brand. I'd love to build this. I would love to do that. I'd love to. Why have you never done it then? I don't know. Am I possible? Is it possible? What would other people say? What about this? What's this? Is this? Like, I believe deep down, a lot of people kind of know what they want to do or would love who they'd love to be. They just don't execute on it because of fear.
Yeah. It's the barriers, isn't it? The social barriers, like you said, the fear, the belief system, your map of the world. Well, no one in my family has ever set up a successful business before. If I said that to my parents, what would my parents say? What would my friends say? Like when I first set my podcast up, to this day, my friends banter me like, oh, 1% better podcast. Oh, I'm a podcaster. They banter. They're all proud of me. But like when it first happened, initially I was like, oh yeah, fuck. Like, oh shit, I've got a podcast now. This is a bit like, should I be doing this? And it's like you said, it's that fear, isn't it? Of that, like that imposter syndrome, which is very natural for everyone. And I don't care how like successful you ever are, everyone gets it. The most successful people in the world get it. And then it's that ability to step back a second and go, no, you're allowed to do this. What the fuck? Why not? Why the fuck not? And even if you get 2 subscribers, that's 2 more than the person that's not started. Do you know what I'm saying?
And that's also the problem. People are looking for short-term success for everything, or they put a video out, and if it gets 1 view, they'll delete it. And it's like their expectations are too big for how good they're not. They're not good enough, you know. And that's something I always remind myself of. If my content don't perform well, if I'm not earning the money that I want to earn, if I'm not in the shape that I want to be, like I'm not doing good enough, and I'm just not good enough yet to get the results that I want.
Yeah.
And like, don't lie to yourself. If I'm putting content out and it's not getting recognition, it's not getting views, likes, and it's just not popping off, essentially, it's just not good enough. Like that's as simple as it is. If you're putting a post out, or you start a podcast and you've got 2 listeners and 2 views, you're just not good enough yet. And it's okay to accept that you're not good enough. And it's just like, how can you get better? Don't put yourself down about it. Be proud about the action that you're taking, but just know that you're not going to be there, and it takes a very long time to get where you want to go. And I think people think that it's going to happen overnight, which it just doesn't.
Yeah, mate, it definitely
takes a long time.
It definitely doesn't. Everyone that I've spoken to that does podcasts, especially in like a niche sector, have all said, don't look at your analytics in year 1. Like, obviously, I still look at my analytics every now and then just to see kind of like I've made some changes recently and I've used some different tools, like is it working, etc. But people have just said like don't bother, because like your first year is about getting the fucking numbers out there, getting it off the fucking ground,
and also just everything what I do now, whether it's with my podcast, whether it's with my content, just making sure that I enjoy it and I feel excited about it, and I'm actually proud of the process and the actions that I take. That's it. I don't look at views, likes, and all that. You have to look at them in a way, because you need to understand what's working and what's not working. But I don't judge myself of it, which I used to do in the past. I judge myself of my actions and how I show up. And did I enjoy doing that? And what do I want to do? And what do I want to post? That's why even my podcast, for example, I've only done a lot of clients or a couple of odd people I know. I could reach out to loads of people that have got followers and that. I don't want to do that, because that's not something that I'm interested in doing. I want to do something that I enjoyed and people actually want to talk to.
Yeah, mate, 100%. Well, the guy that was helping me out a lot when I first set my business up, he asked me like what the purpose was with the podcast, and I said to him, like, realistically, mate, my first purpose with this podcast was I want to build my network and speak to like-minded people to learn more about the industry and learn more about what a high performer does. Because I've only worked in a few businesses. I've worked externally with quite a few businesses, but I want this to be able to allow me to learn from a shit ton of people. That's my primary focus. My secondary focus is this is an incredible business development tool that can allow me to get in front of people. And also it's a resource tool now that whenever I go into businesses and someone says, when you go, Charles, is there anything I can listen to or read that can help me with business development? well, funny you say that. I had a guy called Aaron on my podcast, 45 minutes to an hour. I'll ping you that episode. It's fucking class. Or Dom, who's built 4 successful cold desks, or now Jack, who talks about mindset and purpose. Go and listen to that one. So now it's almost like that's the third purpose of the pod, is giving stuff away for free. Like when I got into this industry, there was fucking nothing. There was no recruitment podcast. There was no books on recruitment. There was, okay, sure, there was loads of stuff around mindset, but there was fuck all specifically for this industry. And now I'm giving a load of this stuff away for free that, who knows, maybe down the line I might look back and go, fuck. But I'm getting the remuneration back from it with clients and all the rest of it. And that's helping with my purpose. Going back to what you said about the younger you being the man that you want to be, like, that's one of my things. I'm trying to be the man that I would have wanted as a 20-year-old, as a 15-year-old, that I never had. I never had that male like role model in my life. Like, what do I need to be like to be that person? And naturally you start gravitating, again, going back to when I was in the Thai boxing gym, there's younger kids in there that would look up to me. I go into recruitment offices, there's younger kids, especially the guys, because this is actually something we didn't bring up as a topic, but I would like to ask you about, but specifically for guys, mate, who the fuck are the role models right now? Who are we looking up to? The minute we've got a guy that doesn't do drugs, used to be a fighter, etc., etc. Okay, he's come out with some fucking ghastly stuff about women, but he's awful. But then we get these other people that are very left-leaning, all the rest of it, but then they're just fucking pathetic and weak and fat. No offense to fat people, but it's just like sometimes it's like, bruh, like what? Where the fuck are our role models? Like I don't know. What's your opinion on that? Because it's something that kind of stresses me out a lot. I feel sorry for a lot of you, especially younger boys that are like in there, like going through puberty and stuff like that. Who the fuck do they look up to these days?
They will look up to me one day. And that's one of the biggest things that I've put in place that I know. One of my biggest missions is to be the biggest influence in men in their 20s. Because I believe them years are the most important. And if you get your life right in your 20s, your 30s, 40s, and 50s will be set up. And I chased the wrong things. I don't know who I was looking at that time, but it was about drinking, doing drugs, you know, how many women can I be or sleep with, partying, fighting, ego. That's what it was based around, right? But it's unfulfilling. You get lost in it. You spend all your money on stupid stuff because you're trying to act a way that you're not. Yeah. And like, I do believe in certain things. I think you're referring to Andrew Tate. A lot of things, what he says, I think is fucking, you know, great. Some things, not so much, but I do think he's a good role model in terms of what he preaches, the discipline and everything else. But I also feel like when people look at him, they could get misconceptions and think that they need to go out, drive a flashy car, wear a watch, spend their money on stuff. And they're not, people do that when they're not in the place to do it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
They'll be 19, 20, 100%. 21, 22, driving a flash car, getting a certain watch or spending all their money on stuff, but they're not even at the point of one of these top people are. So all they're doing is essentially putting themselves in a hole further down the line.
Yeah.
Whereas I know, you know, true fulfillment comes from purpose, challenging yourself, practicing discipline, consistency, building something special for yourself, having a great relationship with one person, someone that supports you, someone that you're building a mission with. But then most importantly, contributing to other people is one of the biggest things that you can get out of your life too. And if I can show other individuals how to do that, which one day I believe that I will, I aim to be that person, because I didn't have anyone to look up to. And that's the honest truth. I just done what I thought was needed to do, you know what I mean? Which was just be the man.
100%. Who do you think, I'd be interested to know, because we'll wrap up shortly, but like, I'm interested to know like who your kind of role models are right now, like especially for sort of male role models. For me, I would say, like, and again, people like this get some stick sometimes, but Jordan Peterson is someone that I've read his book, The 12 Rules for Life. I think he's just such an articulate, and he's very masculine, but not in the sense that people think in terms of like the physical aspect. He's very intellectually masculine and articulate, and I just love listening to the way he speaks. Joe Rogan has been someone I've listened to since I was literally 14, in a hole in my bedroom, not wanting to go to school, hitting rock bottom, listening to his podcast every morning, going out for walks and stuff. He's just been fucking transformational for me. Again, it's a person that gets some stick and whatnot. And then there's a few people in the in the UFC, like the combat sports athletes and a lot of the Thai boxers and stuff that I look up to in terms of that discipline, that mindset that they have. I'm sure there's other people off the top of my head, but if I think back to the three sort of main people, or the two main people, is probably Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan. Is there anyone that you kind of look at yourself as a model?
Do you know what? I wouldn't say I look at someone individually as a model, but I've took things from people. The only difference, the only problem, it's not a problem, but the only they're just not relatable. And what I mean by that is there's no one. I didn't follow anyone that grew up in the cultures and environments that I did. Does that make sense? So when I say I look up to someone like Tony Robbins, I don't look up to him because he's been through similar situations. I just look up to him because of his knowledge and what he's grown and how many lives he's changed. I look up to David Goggins, the way that he challenges himself and the things that he puts himself through. You know, there was other little mentors that Bob Proctor that I used to follow, but that's because I was invested in personal development education. If you're in your 20s looking at these people, but Goggins may be different. Like, I don't know if they're going to be enough to make you want to change your life so much, knowing the environment and culture that you're in, of going out, drinking, partying, doing drugs. Like, I don't know if it's English culture or what it is. Like, these don't relate to these individuals. Does that make sense? And I think that's why I've had a good... I built a great community, is because I'm very relatable to a lot of people, and I've been through a lot of things. I've been through a lot of things and I've overcome these things, and I was the complete opposite to what I am now. So when I'm telling people, look, chasing women, fighting, wasting your money on designer clothes, and it's unfulfilling in the long run. They kind of take it on board because I've been that person and I've done it. Does that make sense? Whereas all of these other people that I look up to and inspire in some sort of way, they've never been relatable to me. Even when I wanted to stop drinking and stuff, this was over 4 years ago now. Like, I was typing in who's sober, Bradley Cooper. I'm like, this guy's an American fucking actor, like
bodybuilder, is he?
Bradley Cooper. An American actor, the one of Hangover. I'm like, but I don't relate to him. Does that make sense? There was no one I could look at and say, like, oh, he's sober. I get it now. Does that make sense? Whereas and this is not me saying that, I want people to go sober, but it's like, what I'm trying to get out of this is, like, I want to be relatable for people to show that come up in the same kind of environment, similar situations, that you can turn around and change your life and you can chase more fulfilling things. And I want to pave that way for people, because I didn't have that to look up to, and I don't think there still is that to look up to, in the honest truth. I don't know who there is. I don't.
This is what I'm saying. This is one of my big issues right now.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like as I say, I take things from people, mentors, but not like someone I'm like, fucking hell, he's done it, I need to follow that path.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I've never had anyone in my life where I've kind of looked at and gone, right, I'm going to clearly follow that path of what they're doing. For me, and I think this came from the NLP stuff when I was in my early 20s, of the modeling module of it, which is understanding the beliefs, the behaviors and the habits of what makes someone successful, and modeling aspects of them. And when I did my master prac, we had to do an exercise. It was fucking cringy, but it was quite interesting. And we basically had to go away, pick someone in our life that we knew, and model their behavior, their patterns, their micro muscle movements, everything. And I picked at the time, my jiu-jitsu coach, Hafa, who he just embodied discipline. He still competed as a black belt. He trained directly under Roger Gracie. He was the nicest, most compassionate and empathetic guy, but a fucking savage. Like, it was mad. Like, you can see a switch in his head when he was training with the black belts to then when he would roll with me, and he'd be really delicate, be very complimentary, which some senseis, some like the head instructors and coaches are just, you fucking pussy, like that. He was just like, you're very good. Like, he was Brazilian as well. I can't really do the best accent, but he was like, you got very strong hips, very, very, very good. I was like, is he conferring a compliment to a fucking white belt? I was like, this is crazy. So I was like, right, I want to model that. There are aspects of what he does that I can implement to what I deem to be true to me. And for me, what's true to me is the empathy, the compassion, but equally those what would years ago be deemed as the traditional masculine traits of positive action, courage, discipline, these types of things. But yes, you can still have as a woman, but these were like traditional masculine traits that have been muddied in the waters now, and they kind of almost deemed as toxic. But I looked at that, and then on the day of the module on the Saturday, going to London to go and do this, you had to walk around the room how they walk. You had to speak how they would speak. So imagine that, me trying to do the fucking Brazilian accent, right? Speaking a bit of Portuguese. But then you would have to be, I would explain to people, like the whole exercise was, I'm going to talk through a move in front of people that don't know nothing about martial arts, but I'm going to embody everything about him, his muscle movements and everything. And basically, the whole idea of this exercise was to train yourself that if, say, for example, your whole idea of waking up at 4:30 in the morning, I'm like, that's fucking killer. I need to get rid of my limiting belief and I want to become a morning person. I would think about what you do, and it doesn't have to be as nitty gritty as your fucking facial movements and stuff, but it's just embodying what is Jack's belief system on this particular thing I want to get better at. What is his behaviors? He doesn't click snooze. How did he make that a habit? What were the other things that contributed towards going to bed earlier, etc.? And then if that's the one thing that I want to learn from you, I can learn to model that one aspect. And if I want to go right, so for example, kettlebells, I'd never fucking swung a kettlebell before, but I couldn't do dumbbells at the time because my wrists were fucked. So I was like, right, I'm going to go and learn how to do kettlebells. So I found about the Russian guy that invented the kettlebell movement. So went on Joe Rogan's podcast, listened to the whole thing, made tons of notes, learned how to do it. And all I did is go to the gym, lock myself in a corner away from anyone. Because again, the limiting belief of being the skinny kid my whole life, didn't want to look like an idiot with a barbell, only doing the fucking barbell, no weight. But I could do it with a kettlebell and have no limiting beliefs. So I'd sit in a corner and just do loads of fucking one-arm swings, snatches and stuff. And then slowly you progress up and up and up. Next thing you know, people are like, oh, you've put a bit of weight on. You're like, oh yeah, shit, fucking hell, because of the fucking discipline.
Love it.
That was a fucking tangent, wasn't it?
No, but it's good. It's a good insight. It's a good insight to what you're saying and how to model people, because that's what it is. If someone, and I believe that if someone else has done something, you have to copy. You don't have to be the exact strategies, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And there's a lot of people doing things that you want to do, and all you got to do is pick up of the habits, traits of this person, and follow accordingly.
100%, mate. Well, look, I'm conscious of time, Jack. I think we could probably speak for the rest of the day, to be honest with you. And I've taken away tons of this, mate. And no, I really, really appreciate the time. It's been awesome. And thank you very much for opening up about your story and kind of what you've implemented. And I really, really do hope that if people can take even just one thing from this to better their lives, then that would be amazing. Two last things before we wrap up. The last question I ask everyone on this podcast, is following today's episode, how can people in the recruitment industry get 1% better?
1% better. Do you know what? I'm gonna say this. Yes, I would love to say, and I do say, you have to have purpose. If you've got purpose, you're going to be more energized, more motivated, sacrifice more, and everything. If you want to understand more about purpose, please follow them questions that I said. But I just want to give this away to everyone because I work with a lot of recruitment business owners and recruiters themselves, right? And it's judge yourself of your inputs and what you do every single rather than the results that you get. And what I mean by that is a lot of people link their confidence and happiness and fulfillment to an external result. When they're billing high, when they're successful, they feel great, they feel confident, they feel in control, right? As soon as they're not achieving the results that they want, their self-belief goes down, the confidence goes down, they don't feel as good, and then they spike again when they get an external result. And a lot of people judge themselves and get their confidence from external results or even external things, a watch, a car, a piece of clothing. But when these things are taken away, who are you? Exactly. Now, to become more confident, start judging yourself on the inputs and the work that you do every single day. I'll give an example. If you show up and you put a plan in place and you execute on that plan every single day, or you execute on the plan just that day, recognize yourself for the good work that you've done that day. You've had a good day. Feel great about yourself because that work that you do that day, your result produce on a different day. Does that make sense? But if you judge yourself on how you show up every single day and feel confident about the work that you're putting in, you can start feeling more joyful, more confident, believe in yourself more along the process rather than waiting for an external result to give you a certain feeling. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, because I know a lot of people, they achieve, but when they're not achieving, they don't feel good.
It's so true. It's so true. I've fallen into that trap myself, mate, where, market dips a little bit, your billings are a little bit lower, and all of a sudden you start feeling shit about yourself because your number isn't as good as what it was. You don't feel
confident. There you go, and your confidence lacks. So if you just put a plan in place, you execute on that plan, you're not going to sow and reap at the same time. But if you're the type of person that gets up no matter what's going on in life, a bad market, a bad day, and you're just showing up and you're ticking the boxes and putting in this thing every work, that's the type of person that you should judge yourself off. Not the 100%. Results that come with it. And I've seen that to be very effective and change a lot of people's attitudes and mindset when it comes to a bad market or a bad day. They're just showing up, and the results eventually start coming.
Absolutely. Well, mate, again, thanks so much. Really appreciate your time.
No
How
problem
do
at
people
all.
reach out to you? Where do people contact you? Where do people follow you? Tell us a little bit about that before we wrap up.
Yeah, so Instagram is just J_Salmon B or J Salmon_B, I think it is. Same as
Right.
LinkedIn, Jack Salmon. Just type in and it will come up. They're the two things. Same again on YouTube. I've got some YouTube stuff, whether it's the Become the Best You podcast that I do, or just YouTube in general. If you type in Jack Salmon, I've got vlogs and stuff on that, some of my journey. But I'm mainly on LinkedIn. I'm mainly on Instagram. They're the two
Yeah.
sort of places to go to.
Wicked. Nice. I don't think I'm following you on Instagram yet, but I did delete Instagram about a month ago and only just re-downloaded it. So I'm trying to limit my Instagram, but I'll definitely give you a follow on that.
Same kind of content. It's the same kind of content across
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
I just touch base on everything. So LinkedIn,
Amazing.
YouTube, Instagram, it'll all be the same.
Awesome, man. Well, look, everyone, if
Man.
you made it this far, follow Jack, keep up with the podcast, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you so much for watching this episode or listening to this episode, guys. Let me know, what was your biggest takeaway from this week's guest? What did you think about their answer to the 1% Better in Recruitment? I'm really keen to hear your thoughts. If you haven't already, please drop us a like if you're on YouTube, follow on Apple and Spotify, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm really, really keen to get some feedback from you all on what you think about the format of these episodes. Are there any other guests that you think we should have on the show? Are you someone that wants to be a guest on the 1% Better Recruitment Podcast? Because if so, you can just simply DM me on LinkedIn, you can drop me an email, all my details are below on these videos, and I'm always interested in having absolute legends come on the show that want to have real open conversation, that want to talk about things that could even be potentially controversial. We could debate certain things, but the whole point, as I mentioned at the start of the video, guys, is that my whole purpose with this show is to help the recruitment industry get 1% better after every episode. So make sure you're following, subscribing on all the different platforms, and I'll see you next week.